everybody. It is Triple Play Week again, and I'm here with Natalie and Misty. And we have a really special thing planned for you today. Our Triple Play is all based on the Block magazine that's coming out in December.
Yes, it's Block Friday.
It is. Exciting. It's so cool. So we took 3 projects from that magazine, the December Block, and we upped our game a little bit.
Yeah,
and
we use those for our inspiration.
That's right. We use those for our inspiration, and we're just
so excited to show
crazy.
you some new ideas.
Yeah. So here's the quilt that mine is based on. We'll get right into mine. Mine is based on the Braids and Boats quilt, and this is the one that appears in Block.
Now, which we did for it, Triple Play.
Yes. So if you go watch,
some time ago.
Yeah, if you go watch the Triple Play on this one, you'll see another one that's made in batiks, and this is the one for the Block fabric. And I'm actually, for my project today, I'm just going to use this braid part right here. So the fabric I'm using for my project is called Venice, and it is by Christian Marquez for Robert Kaufman, and you're going to need 1 charm pack of that. Now, this is my project right here, and it's a set of placemats, and out of 1 charm pack, you're going to get 6 placemats. So we use the braid on the side, this little piece of white right here. For all 6 placemats, you're going to need ½ a yard of that. You're going to need a yard of complementary fabric, and then your back fabric back here, you're going to need 1.5 yards, and it will back all 6 of those. All right, so let me show you how to do this because this is really fun. You guys know I love the half hexies, and you will need that template. We do have an outline for it if you need that. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our squares here, and I'm just going to pull a few out of the middle. So there are several ways you can cut these, and you can cut this way with your charm in the middle, but I like to cut my little set in half. And so I'm going to just take my little 2.5-inch ruler and make 2 cuts. Then I can stack these actually, and then I can lay my little template on here, and then I'm just cutting the sides. So then it becomes very easy. So I'm going to cut this way, and I'm going to switch hands and cut this way. Now, if you can't switch hands, turn yours around, use a rotating mat, or just flip them around. And I'm just cutting these edges right here. All right, so once you cut your whole charm pack up, it's just a matter of putting them together. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this side right here to this bottom of my hexie. And we're just going to lay this on here like this. And we're going to have Natalie sew that on there.
So just 1/2 seam to get started?
Yeah, just a ½ seam to get started. Okay. And so do it this way so you can see where you're going.
Yep.
And then just sew right down that side.
Okay.
Okay, so once you've done your little ½ seam, that's like the hardest part of the braid because now we're just going to open this up like here. And then every piece we have is then just going to be added to the bottom and added to the bottom and added to the bottom like this. You're just going to keep going and going and going.
I know this works, but every time I see it, it's just like,
isn't that so fun?
Best.
So what I want you to do though is I want you to sew them all and make a long, long braid. So I actually have the end of my braid here, and you're just going to keep going and going and going and make a long braid. Now for each placemat, what I did was I used 15 inches of this. And so, you're just going to straighten off. I'm going to move these out of the way. And we're just going to straighten off this end right here, like this. And then I'm just going to measure 15 inches. Make sure I don't cut into my template. That's a fast way to ruin a rotary blade right there. Mm-hmm. So this is a 15-inch ruler, and so I know that I need to come right here. And just like that. And then we're just going to cut this. This becomes our braid on the side of our placemat right here. So what we're going to do to start to put this placemat together is I'm going to cut 2 15-inch strips of my white 1.5-inch strip. So this is 1.5, it's going to be 1.5 by 15. I'm cutting my little selvage off. And one of the reasons we're cutting these is because our braid piece could get a little stretchy, and this will help hold it in place. It will just stabilize the entire thing. So I'm going to lay my ruler on here because I know it's 15, And I'm just going to cut 2 of those 15-inch pieces. So then we're going to take our braid piece and we're going to lay this 15-inch piece on either side, and we're going to make the braid fit to our piece. So Natalie, if you want to sew those on.
Yep.
And
so I know you never pin, but I think if you wanted to pin, you could pin the top and the bottom. And then the other tip is to keep the braid at the bottom nearest the presser foot, so that if it's a little bigger than your cut strip, then you can ease it in, right?
That's exactly right. So whenever you have extra fabric, you know, like if you're 15 inches here and your fabric has a little scoop, if you put that fabric on the bottom, the feed dogs take in more fabric and it will just make it all line up. So you can actually put a pin at the beginning and the end, and even one right in the middle if you want, and it will help it all line up. So I'm going to have Natalie put one of these on both sides, and I'm going to go ahead and take my little piece of fabric here and cut a 12 by 15 inch piece that we can sew on the other side. So I think this is, let's see how wide this is. This is a little wider than 15. I'm going to fold this in half. This is going to be easier for me to cut. I don't like to cut on long pieces of fabric. I like to cut on short pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one to 12 length. My length is 12 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like this. And I'm just going to cut this in half, making sure I'm lined up nice and straight. And then I'm going to open this up and I'm going to cut it to 15. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
Yep.
12 by 15.
12 by 15.
All of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. It's like I was completely turned around for a minute there. All right. So, Missy, actually, would you iron this for me? Because it's got a fold in it.
It's kind of creasing, isn't it?
It kind of is.
I'm going to go over this one a little bit because I just about missed the fabric here.
Yeah, we're still doing 1/4 inch on all our seams.
There we go.
And so right now,
Sometimes they're not exact.
They're pretty close.
they're close enough, close
Yep.
enough. All right, I'm going to straighten up this edge right here. And then we're going to count over 15 because I know that it's 12 this way. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 here. And I'm going to lay my ruler here, get on this side of it. And I'm going to make this cut. Wait. Let me make sure this is lined up nice and straight. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Natalie sew this to the braid piece.
There we go. Now,
So
did you put your braids like pointing up or pointing down?
So it depends which way you put your placemat.
Oh, I guess, well, but
Yeah, so-
it's
No,
always on the
so-
same side, right?
So
It
on
is
mine
always
right
on
here-
the same side, but if you look at these two,
they are going to
They
this
are
one
going
is
different
going
ways.
opposite directions.
So that
Okay.
was a complete error. That was not
I'm
intentional.
sorry. I was just curious.
most of them are down. One of them is up.
And they
I
both.
did that intentionally, just so
I
you
was
could
going
see.
to say, I think they both look great. I just was curious.
So
Well,
you
either
have-
way works, right?
Yes, and you can have
That
3
is
going
so
one
funny.
way and 3 going the other way.
Yeah.
The other thing is it doesn't have to be on the left. It can sit like this and be on the right. And you can put
Exactly.
your plate here and your silverware
Absolutely. Whatever
here.
you
Either
want.
way.
Very versatile, as you can see.
Obviously.
All right, so let's sew
There
this
are
piece
no
on right
mistakes.
here.
Do you want the braid on the bottom or?
Let's see. Let's do our other 3 with it going up. Do you know I never even looked at that?
That's so funny. I'm sorry.
That is no, it's totally fine.
There's
Obviously,
things like that that happen a lot with our pattern writers. They'll say, "Did you intend for all of these to
I know,
be
and
the
you're like,
same,
"Wait, what?"
or did you not pay attention to
Yes.
that?" And
You're like, I didn't pay attention.
interesting little things that
Yeah.
you catch.
So that is actually really interesting. I'm like, wait, if you turn it over, they go.
It's right.
But it's on the opposite side.
I love that.
All right. Well, anyway, it works and it makes a great placemat.
It
So
really
once
does.
Natalie gets this sewn on over here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my whole set and I'm going to lay them all on the same piece of backing and then I'm going to quilt them. And if you're quilting them like I quilt with a credit card, if you're quilting them that way, you're going to send them to your quilter with a big piece of back. Don't cut your individual pieces. She will never forgive you. Leave a big piece and she'll put the placemats on and then quilt them all at once. If you're going to quilt them on the machine by, hand or, machine quilt them.
Yes.
Then what you're going to do is you're going to cut your pieces and you'll lay your batting and all that. So I got my pieces back. I trimmed it all up so that it was nice and square. And then I just bound it like a regular quilt with the binding around them. I think anytime you put binding, even on a small project, I just think it finishes it and it makes it look so cool.
Looks
so
great.
these are a great quick project. It would be really fun.
Such a great gift, too.
Yeah.
Well, and it
Such
was
great
so
gifts.
fun. Any fabric, if you used Christmas fabric, it would be cute. If you use,
Yes,
holiday
Christmas
stuff.
or Halloween. I mean, those kinds of things are fun because they're not like such a big deal.
Well,
Exactly.
the other thing
Just
is,
a quick project.
Not as much as the whole quilt for the holiday, but you
Right.
could have fun different placemats for whatever your
and
Halloween
also,
dinner.
as you're making these, I'm thinking about, this is a long piece of braid that you get on this. And if you cut it in half, you'd have a great double table runner.
Oh, that's
so
true.
many ideas
That's
and so many
true.
things you can do with the braid. The braid is super fun, it's super quick, but it makes it look like you worked really hard. But if you want to make sure that all of your hexagons are going the same direction, look at that. All right. Now we're going to go to Missy, who
All
has
right.
our next project, and I'm going to clean up my mess.
All right, I'm so excited for my project. I made this great little pillow and a little bonus project, but it was inspired by this Charm Squares on Point quilt. That's what it's called, right?
It's simple squares
Simple
on
squares
point.
on point. Thank you, because this is not Charm
Because
Squares. You can
it's
tell.
made with a layer cake.
Yeah, and
And we added the accent
Fun little
color
accents.
to create like a fun pattern.
This is such a great
such
fabric
a
for
great
guys.
quilt.
It's
Yeah,
called
the
Born to Ride,
Born
isn't
to
it?
Ride is the line, and we quilted it with this really cool motorcycle
Motorcycles.
Oh, your
quilting
dad
pattern.
would love this.
Yeah, it's
So
super
cute.
cool.
So cute. So that was
Very
the
cool.
inspiration for this. But keeping with Jenny's idea of smaller giftable projects, I thought I would show you how to make this great pillow on point using Charm Squares. And so you actually get this pillow and this really cute little pin cushion.
That is so cute.
Yes.
They're made the exact same way, just with different size squares. You get both of them out of one charm pack, and I used the Christmas card by Sweetwater for Moda, and it's just a really great holiday line. So let me show you how you do this. It's so simple. To make the pillow, you're just going to lay out your 5-inch squares in a row 6 by 6. You just make a layout however you like it. And again, you can use any size squares that you want. It's just going to change the size of your finished project. And so now I've sewn all of these together, and we're just going to put them right sides together in half, like this. And we're going to sew a 1/4-inch seam up both sides. I like to start from the seam down here and sew
All right.
down.
And we'll match up all these
All
little
your little
points.
joints. Yep.
No pressure, Natalie.
Oh, it's like
It's like everything got really
everyone's
quiet.
everyone's watching me.
I know. There really are no quilt police, though, and it's so forgiving. If it doesn't match, we're not worried about it.
Well,
We are worried about it.
sometimes
She's
it,
worried about it.
sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
That's right. So then just the other side.
Yep.
Yeah, you're having to do all the hard work
Just-
today, Nat.
No worries. I like it.
This makes such a great gift.
It's so awesome. And then I love that you actually get 2 giftable things out of one charm pack.
Because how many?
So
You use 36.
you use 36 squares for this one, and then I'll
left-
show.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show that when she
4.
finishes.
It just
I
went
know.
through my head what you did, and I
Yeah.
realized I'm like, oh.
It's so fun.
There you go.
All right, so then once you have those 2 seams done, you actually are going to grab this in half again, and you're going to do the same
That's
idea.
it?
That's it.
Oh my gosh.
And then you're going to have to leave an opening though, obviously, because we want to flip this, and because we don't have any side seams, you really can't use a pillow form for this, so we are going to fill it with polyfill. So I just leave about a, charm squares width opening, and so I'll back stitch when I get there and then come down and finish the rest. You just want to make sure the rest of your fabric is out of the way.
That is
Alright.
so cool.
So just like shake it down.
Shake it down, yep.
Okay.
And
Give it a little shake down.
that's right.
Just a little shakedown.
Yeah, it's so easy.
And then
That
also
is really
keeping
cool.
these.
Isn't it fun?
I see a few of those in my future.
Exactly.
They're great for everything. They could go on beds and
Yeah,
couches.
it's such a wonderful size too. They finish at about 19 inches, so
All right.
it's a great throw size.
That one. Yep.
And because you've used polyfill, it's perfect for pillow fighting.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, I would probably backstitch where you are leaving your opening.
That's
And
So-
she's
that
not
is what
quite there.
I know she's not quite there yet, but
Yeah.
because you're hand stepping it,
Yeah, exactly.
take a
You don't
lot of
want it to
stress.
tear.
Yeah.
all right. How do I
You
backstitch
just
on this
hold
machine?
the lever.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I've never backstitched on this before because we
We
just
don't
don't do
often
it
You
very
don't do
often.
it much,
Yeah.
but for this project, it really does make a big difference.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go up to this point and backstitch again.
Yeah. Exactly.
And make sure that's. Sorry, it's just a little.
Yeah, you just kind of have
Just
to
want to
work
make sure
with
it's
it.
all straight.
Exactly.
It is interesting how the different machines are, isn't
Yeah.
it? And we get so accustomed to our
To whichever one
machine,
we
yeah.
sew on. Almost there.
All right.
There we go.
See if I did it right.
You did. And so now we can just turn this right sides out. You can clip your corners if you're worried about it. Because it's so large, it doesn't really
Yeah.
tend to matter. And then we've got some polyfill here.
Well, and if the one square is too small, you could probably make
Yeah,
a
you can
larger
make it a little
opening.
bigger.
It's just that's how far you have to hand stitch later.
Exactly. So be mindful of that. You are going to have to hand stitch it closed. But that is it. And so now you just
Oh,
stuff
look how
it.
cool that
It's so
is.
cute.
So cute. You just
Yeah,
stuff it
that
with your
turned out so good.
polyfill,
Yeah.
which Jenny's got there.
Polyfill.
And we'll just fill this all up and then, you know, whip stitch it or do a hidden stitch to finish off that little bit. And it is done.
That is awesome.
So,
That
so
is
simple.
so cute. I can't believe how easy that was.
I know, it's amazing. And
Oh.
so then this adorable little pin cushion I got out of the rest of the squares in my charm pack. And I did that by, you just need 4 charm squares and you cut them down into 2.5 and you sew them 4 by 4 and you make it the exact same way.
Oh my gosh.
And then I just filled this one with crushed walnut shells.
Yeah, see, wait,
So-
I have those. Wait, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. And so this makes a perfect little pin cushion and I put a little button in the middle. I just think it turned
Well,
out
and
That
because
is
it's
adorable.
walnut shells, you could like sew right through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You just move them.
exactly. They
And
just move
your
out of the
pin
way.
will get sharper as you sew through.
Yeah,
right?
Perfect.
Your needle will sharpen as you go. So yeah, I just
Awesome.
hand stitched, added that little button. It was so quick and easy and they make great gifts. So now we will turn the time over to Nat.
Awesome.
Okay, so my project is based on the Rhombus Gemstone quilt, which I just love.
Here it is.
So pretty.
And it uses the rhombus tool and then jelly roll strips on the side. And we have a mini version of that rhombus tool, which I just think is the cutest little thing ever.
It is
I
so
love tiny
cute.
stuff. It's so cute. So I made a table runner
Oh my gosh.
using the tiny one and a
so
little
That
charm
is
pack.
so beautiful.
And it's in reverse. So the original, we used all white for the gemstones, and the jelly roll was the color. And it made this really cool pattern because you had same colors
Oh,
on
I
one
love
side.
this.
This one is opposite. So it really just
It looks like you're looking through a garden trellis. It's
Yes.
so pretty.
I'm pretty
so
sure
I called it
need one of
Rhombus Garden.
these. Pretty sure I need one of these for Christmas, Natalie.
And
Yes.
it's super, super simple to make. It's
Beautiful.
This one is 22 by 52. You could make it shorter if you wanted to. I just wanted to use as much of the charm pack as possible. So that's why it's just
It's
nice and
gorgeous.
long.
I love it.
So to make this table runner, I used the Free Spirit fabric. It's Kaif's August 2020 Cold Collection. And it is just beautiful. His fabrics always are. They're so pretty
So
and
pretty.
fun.
So
and
pretty.
you use so many of, like, they're so similar that you can't even tell if you have two side by side because
No.
they have different sections that cut differently.
Yeah, that's
it's
absolutely
and they
true.
very
work-
cool.
Work so beautifully together.
Right. So then the other thing I used is a pack of 1.5-inch strips. Now, these are super convenient, but you don't use the whole thing. You'll have a few left over. So if you wanted to just use yardage, you could use 1.25 yards and then cut them into 23 strips.
Okay.
That's how many you need.
Okay.
1.5-inch by width of fabric.
And I always feel like,
I know, if you can buy
why?
it pre-cut.
Why would you do
Oh,
this? when
yeah,
you can
no.
buy this?
Pre-cut is so convenient.
So
Convenient.
convenient.
And then I've got a little border on it. So the inner border is also out of the strip set.
That same 23.
The same 23 pieces, yep. And then the outer border is just a 1/2 yard and it's 3 inches. So it's super
so-
easy.
Just gorgeous
pretty.
now.
Now the backing, we used 1.5 yards. And so what you do is you cut that lengthwise and sew it together so that it's long and skinny as opposed to using like a full
The width
with
of
the fabric.
right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep. So
Awesome.
pretty
Perfect.
cool. All right. So let me teach you how to make these little rhombus gemstone pieces.
This fabric is
They're
so fun
so
because
cool.
you're absolutely right. Every single one. I mean, these 3 could be out of the same charm pack,
Yeah.
and you
Yes.
would never know.
Yeah. All right. So what I did first is just cut these into 2.5 inch strip sets. Oops. And I have stacked a couple of, what do I have, like
gonna be up
4
here.
fabrics here.
Yeah.
All right. So this is 2.5 inches wide, and it should fit pretty well. I'm going to trim off that little excess on that side and then cut them. You have just a tiny bit of waste, but it doesn't bother me. It's fine.
We're not mad about it.
Not mad about it at all. So you just cut those. There is a little edge you can clip here, but you don't really need it for this project because we're sewing these straight onto strips.
Okay.
All right, so you've got your strip, and the way that I did this, because all of my strips are the same color, I just lined them up on a strip and sewed all of one side,
Okay.
and then I clipped them all, pressed them, and then sewed the other side on new strips.
Okay.
All right, so we'll just do like maybe 3. Does
right.
that sound good?
Sure.
So you just line them up, and what I did to make sure that I was doing them all the same direction, I made one,
That's so
and then I said, I want them all to go this way. So then this is the base, right? So you look at it and say, all right, I want all of my short side. We're gonna do the short side first.
Okay.
So then you just put it on like that. And you make sure that when you start, because starting and ending is where you'll end up with the piece that you have to trim off. So you can fold it this way and say, okay, yeah, I know that when I cut, I need at least that much.
That much off.
So I would slide this down a little bit. But then as you're going along, you can line these up. Whoops. You can line them up as close as like a 1/2 inch once you have that starter.
Okay. Well, let me
So
sew
these-
one, and
these
then you
can
can
just
tell
go.
me how close to put the next one. Okay.
Yep. They can be, I did probably closer to like 1 inch apart. But
Just to be
it was all eyeballed. I didn't measure. I
Right.
just wanted to make sure I had enough room to trim both pieces.
What's really fun about that though is that, like I saw you come in and you had these long strips
Like
of them,
a
and I'm just
garland.
Like a
like,
garland.
it's like half
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
So just
and
about
it's-
there, you think?
Yep.
I think that's
Okay.
great.
You just
All
leave
right.
about 1/2, 3/4, just a guess.
Just enough
Because of the way
room.
you cut them, Natalie, could they butt right up next to each other?
Technically they could.
Yeah.
But I just worry about cutting error.
Oh,
I want to
okay.
make sure that I have enough
Yeah.
space. I like to give myself that room. I
Yeah.
don't
Like
want
to have the
I don't want it
extra
to be
room.
too. So yeah. So let's just trim that off,
There we go.
and we'll. Oops.
You were
Let's
ready to
press
pass.
it. We're gonna press it first. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
Yes.
ready for you.
Because you want to have them pressed back before you trim.
Oh, that makes sense because then you
And
have that angle.
I always did the strip on the bottom and then flipped back my pieces. But I think you
There we go.
I think you could do it the other way. I just felt like for me it made more sense.
They're so pretty.
All right, so I'm going to move this stuff so I can have a little more space here. So for this, the little 2.5 inch ruler is so great because it's a small piece. So I line it up on top. I line it up right on top of the rhombus piece. And basically, I'm just following this angle so that I keep a straight line and it stays lined up. And it works super great. And then so this one's a little bit trickier because it's on the outside of the piece as opposed to cutting on the inside, but
You still can use it as a template, though,
you
right?
totally can still use it. Yep. I just go along and trim them right off. So you can see how the first one you need to make sure you have enough for that edge, but the rest of them are going the same direction and can be closer together. Super easy. And it's one of those projects that like you don't have to think a lot.
Yeah,
It's-
that's so nice.
It's great. All right, so then we'll take this same strip
Okay.
and we're going to put this one with the white facing up. I know that because I did a lot of these.
Okay.
But if you're curious and you're looking at your piece, you have your one finished one, then you can say, I know that I need this piece to be on this side. And so because we're going to sew on this seam, the easiest
to
way to
rotate
do
it.
that is to
just
have
to
it go
rotate
like
it, yeah.
this.
Yes.
So then as you're sewing along, you know you have your white strip to the top. And once you know that you have enough space, because now it's going to cut the opposite direction.
Okay.
It's not super tricky. It's just things that you have to pay attention to.
Okay.
Then we can sew them all
Well, and the good news is once
White
you
strip
figure
up.
it out, they're all the same.
totally.
Well, and
Yeah.
I really like those mantras.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we're doing this. This is how it goes.
Yep. So then I would just flip my whole pile and have it ready to go. And it really is that fast. Like,
That is amazing.
got through this whole thing
Whoop.
really
I
quickly.
think I might have to make one of these too.
I know.
I was thinking I might have to make like a queen size.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because
wouldn't
I
that be
love the
beautiful?
way the little pieces look in a large
Yes.
quilt, and it's so easy that it's not as intimidating as like a
Right.
postage stamp.
Yeah, it actually comes together pretty fast.
Yes.
Oh, that would make a beautiful big quilt.
That's awesome.
All right, so we'll press these back,
Okay.
and then we'll trim them up, and our block is done.
Wow.
And it's roughly like around 3 inches now because
All right.
we've added that inch and a half. Oh, it's always easier for me to trim it. For whatever reason, I like the piece on top. So we still just line it up with the edge.
Just open up this one right here.
So cool.
And you're done.
And then you just
And it's weird because it looks kind of funky at first. You're like, that's not really anything, but
and then they just go together.
once you lay them out.
Ah, so cute.
All right. So that is it. That is how you make that block. I'm gonna put this in the little scrap bin. And I made a whole bunch because the layout is the part that does get a little bit tricky. It's kind of a mind bend. So I start my layout by deciding which direction I want my sides to go.
Okay.
And I typically like them pointing to the right.
Okay.
So I always start with the top row a little bit because you can line them up. You're lining up these diamonds. And so you just put several. I didn't know when I was laying it out how many across I had, but you guys have a diagram, so you're
Yes.
lucky there. And then you start your second row. And so then it goes down. And then these ones, they all hit each other at the points. And it just keeps going like this. And then when you get to your next row, what you want to remember is that at some point they can't keep going out. They have to go straight down. So this is your line that you're going to look at. These ones make your side. So you'll have ones that go out. So the top always has 2. There's 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and then at the bottom you just have 1. And the diagram will show you all of that. It's easier than it sounds.
So
But
when you sew
you
these rows
just-
together, do you do it this way then?
So what I do is I take these 2 and stitch them together, and then I stitch
This
1,
whole
2,
row.
3, 4.
Okay.
And then putting the rows together is kind
Now-
of a trick too, because
1,
you'll
2, 3,
notice
4, 5. You have 5 or 6.
I have 6 in the longest space. There's 6 of them.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Oh, but the 4 is right here.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So you do like
2,
2, 4,
4,
5,
6.
and then 6 all the way across.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's 5. There might be.
Let's see.
It might go
1,
2,
2,
4,
3,
6.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah, so it's 2, 4, 6. And then once you get them all sewn together, you're just going to trim your edges straight and add your borders. But I wanted to make a point about sewing these rows together. So once you have these 2 stitched together and this row stitched together, you're going to line them up at this point because you know that you have this whole zigzaggy section at the top that you're going to trim later. So that can be a little bit tricky, but let's
Okay.
go ahead and do
Sew a
one.
few.
So let's sew these first 2 together. And they go just like that. You can, in
you
order to get it, you do want to overlap just about 1/4 of an inch. There's not a ton of space. It's like a tiny
Okay.
1/4 of an inch,
Okay.
but that helps to keep things lined up. The other thing that's nice about this project is because the background is all white, nobody can see your points.
Hold on.
They do match up pretty well, but if they're off a little bit, it does
doesn't
not
show.
show at all.
Very forgiving.
Super forgiving. So you do want to go slow and be careful because it is, it's not super biasy, but the diamond itself is a biasy. a biasy.
It's on the bias.
It's a bias cut fabric, so it can get stretchy.
Yes.
Okay, now let's do these ones in the same way. You're gonna sew 4 together this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for everybody to see. What they have to remember
Right,
too
because-
is this is cut off right here.
Yes.
So this is these peaks on the top and the bottom
Yep.
of your runner.
Yep, absolutely. And it isn't hard. It's just a different way of putting your rows together. You're not putting them together end to end. You got to scoot it down and make sure that those little points match in the middle.
I have a table runner like that I do where the squares, and it
It
always
reminded me so much of the zigzag runner.
yeah,
that you make.
that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And whenever I lay that out, I always start here, and then it goes this way, and I have to turn the whole thing because it's it's how it's laid out. I can't see that till it starts coming together.
Yep. I'm gonna put some more
Look
of
at
these
her
out.
just sailing over there.
Yep, she's so good.
So
So good.
EW.
There we go.
All right, so let me press that.
Press that back, and then.
Now, do you press these all going a certain direction?
I did actually, because I'm a little bit different. I
mine
flipped it
should-
over, and I made sure that that the white all went towards the color. So mine
Oh.
are all pressed open, but it actually
Okay.
makes no difference when you sew them together because you're sewing everything at an angle,
Okay.
so it can't nest
Okay.
in the traditional sense. It just
All
doesn't
right, so
nest.
then here,
Okay,
You
so
got it flipped.
so you got to make sure and remember that
or it'll end up like my placemat.
background
Half
colors-
going this way, half going that way.
well, it just won't match up and it won't make the pattern that you're looking for. But what you need to remember is that you have a point here and then you have a point here. And so this piece sits right up against that piece. I had it pulled up too far. So
Okay.
There we go.
it's so confusing. The other thing you can look at is that all of these seams
Should
match
line up.
each other.
Okay.
So then when you put that together, it looks like this. And these, okay, so you can look at nesting seams in a way that's non-traditional. What you want to do is overlap them by 1/4 of an inch, and you kind of make a little X.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. They should make an X.
Yes, so if you look at this, when you put it together, it should have, the seams should cross at their 45-degree angles.
That's exactly right.
Making a
Yeah.
little X. And so then you just kind of slide that back up where it goes and stitch it down. You
Right.
kind of just do the best you can at this point.
Okay. And like you said, it's pretty forgiving because of
It
the...
is forgiving because all of the points that meet are white.
Yeah.
They're going to blend into the background.
Okay. Not great.
You'll think that, but it'll look great when it's all put
Okay.
together.
All
They
righty.
do look beautiful. You really can't tell.
Yeah. All right,
There we
great.
go.
So then you're going to continue adding your pieces, your rows, and get the whole thing put together, and it will be time to trim. And I'm going to use this finished runner to give you an idea. So I trimmed my top and bottom sides first, the long sides, and I'm going to put this cut piece in so you can see where it would fit. It fits right about here in the quilt, so you can see how it gets this good angle. And then you're going to line your ruler up on the edge here and cut these sides straight. And then when you've got both sides cut, you'll flip it sideways and cut this side. And it'll feel kind of like you're cutting off a larger piece because it's got to come in here. See where you have to come into
Yeah, you'll lose most of that
to your
triangle.
seam. So you lose most of this, but you need a good straight line, and you need those pieces there so that you don't have a hole in your runner.
Right.
Exactly.
And then that first
So then
border
you've got
is
it
gonna
completely.
stabilize
Yep,
everything.
you've got it completely trimmed up, square, and
So pretty.
add your
So
borders,
pretty.
and you're all done.
So pretty. I just
So-
love it.
So fun, and so much less work.
So all these projects we've done today are inspired by Block Magazine that is coming out in December. They're great grift ideas. They're great small projects. I've got my placemat here. Natalie's got her runner. Misty's got her pillow. These would
Absolutely.
be great, quick gift ideas, wouldn't
Yeah.
they?
You know what else is a great gift idea?
What?
Block Magazine.
Block Magazine
You're
is a good
right.
gift
That to
idea.
someone
That is
you love.
awesome.
I
That
love
is
it.
awesome. So we hope you enjoyed today's Triple Play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. See you later.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.